In 1998 and 1999, Sega kicked off the 6th generation of consoles with the Sega Dreamcast, a console that is now said by many to have been ahead of its time as it was one of the first consoles to boast online play. These capabilities, along with launch titles such as Sonic Adventure, brought the Dreamcast popularity as it sold over 500,000 units in America within the first 2 weeks of launch. It quickly lost its popularity though, as the PS2 gained massive hype and absolutely shattered the records the Dreamcast had previously set. Sega discontinued the Dreamcast on March 31st in 2001, and with Sonic's 10th anniversary looming just a few short months away, Sega and Sonic team made sure that the Dreamcast went out with a bang, and thus we received Sonic Adventure 2. Love it or hate it, Sonic Adventure 2 was one of the most important Sonic games ever. I'd even say it's the most important game of the franchise. It was the last Sonic game to have been released on Sega hardware, and what some believe to be the final game in the series at the time. It was also the first Sonic game to have been released on third-party consoles, as Sonic Adventure 2 Battle hit the GameCube on December 20th, 2001, along with Sonic Advance, going back to the series' 2D side-scrolling roots on the Game Boy Advance, introducing an entirely new audience to Sonic who were missing out because they had chosen Nintendo over Sega for so many years. Sega were quick to bring Sonic's history over to new consoles with 2002's Sonic Mega Collection, bringing Sonic's Genesis catalog over to the GameCube, and Sonic Adventure getting the same treatment, with 2004's Sonic Adventure DX Director's Cut. The original Sonic Adventure boasted a roster of 6 playable characters, all with their own unique gameplay styles and campaigns. Sonic Adventure 2 trims the fat from the original game. While still having a roster of 6 playable characters, they took the gameplay styles from Sonic, Knuckles, and E102 Gamma and refined them. On top of that, they cut the campaigns down from 6 to 2, doing so by having a hero story and a dark story. Each campaign has 3 characters, one representing each of the gameplay styles mentioned prior. Sonic Adventure 2 displays a clear theme of duality and rivalry. It's so clear that you can see it the moment you pick up the game, as it's shown on the box art of all versions. Sonic's blue contrasting Shadow's red, or Sonic and Shadow's heads on opposite sides of the logo. This is also shown on the cover for the Battle port, as each side shows the characters representing each story on their representative side, as well as a hero and dark Shao to go along with them. More likely than not, players would start with the hero story, so let's start there.
Sigma Alpha 2 heading due south over the city. We're en route. Everything's a go.
This is Control Tower. We have you on radar. Report cargo status of captured Hedgehog aboard. Over.
That's a 10-4. Cargo secured on board and... What?
Didn't
The
copy that.
Hedgehog is
Over.
gone. He's taken out everyone aboard and...
What's wrong?
What in the
Come
world?
in. Over.
Freeze! What do you think you're doing? Get that Hedgehog!
Talk about low-budget flights, no food or movies. I'm out of here. I like running better. Yeah!
This game makes a phenomenal first impression with its first cutscene. The animation quality has skyrocketed as they're no longer using stock animations like in SA1. And Ryan Drummond's acting as Sonic has improved tremendously. This cutscene is just so exciting. I remember not too long ago, my friend and I were in a Discord call as he played this game for the first time, and when Sonic jumped out of the helicopter, he had an oh my god type of reaction. This cutscene not only captures Sonic's carefree and rebellious attitude perfectly, but this cutscene, along with the first level, combined for what is the best introduction in any video game in my opinion. Speaking of the first level, one of the most iconic stages the series has seen, rivaling the likes of Green Hill Zone and Chemical Plant Zone. Cityscape throws you right into the action, with Sonic using a piece of the helicopter to bore through the streets with this kick-ass song playing in the background.
Rolling around at the speed of sound. Got places to go, gotta follow my rainbow. Can't stick around, have to keep moving on. Guess what lies ahead, only one way to find out.
This level does so many things right. Not only is it extremely fun as you evade the military, blast through the GUN robots, and blaze through the city like it's nothing, but it also introduces you to the more actiony focus of Sonic Adventure 2, with the level being capped off by arguably the most iconic set piece in any Sonic game. The best part about the set piece is that it's all you. During the Orca chase in Emerald Coast in Sonic Adventure, it was just a bunch of dash pads doing the work for you, but not this time. After that set piece concludes and the level is over, Sonic fights a military robot that's overall pretty basic, wait for it to become vulnerable, and homing attack it a few times, and that's all she wrote. Now, we get more information about what's actually going on in terms of the story. After defeating the robot, Shadow appears on top of the robot with the Chaos Emerald. Sonic instantly finds out that the military has mistaken him for Shadow, as Sonic was being captured for being a deserter from a military base and stealing a Chaos Emerald. I'm gonna cut to the chase. Shadow is my favorite character in the entire franchise, and this game does an absolutely stellar job at leaving a lasting impression on the player. Sega needed a new rival for Sonic, as Metal Sonic was basically abandoned by this point and only used in spin-offs and cameos in mainline games, and they couldn't use the Knuckles Gets Tricked plot as they've already used it 3 times in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, Sonic Triple Trouble, and Sonic Adventure. One character trait that Sonic and Shadow share is their cockiness. Shadow believes that at this point, he's superior and stronger to Sonic to the point where he's quite literally above Sonic for most of the cutscene. Sega establishes early on that Shadow means business, with what I just mentioned, and that he showcases powers never before in the series seen, specifically, Chaos Control. Chaos Control is a time and space altering ability with many uses. In this instance, it is using the energy of the Chaos Emerald to warp around. It also has other uses, such as stopping time and traveling through time, which are introduced later in the series. Shadow uses Chaos Control again to escape, and Sonic is then captured by the military. Since Sonic and Shadow are both here, let's talk about the speed gameplay. Sonic and Shadow share the same gameplay with similar level focus. In comparison to Sonic Adventure, I feel like they handle slightly better in this game, as it feels they can make sharp turns way easier, but I've never heard anyone say that, so it just might be me. One thing that Sonic and Shadow suffer from is same button syndrome, which I'll get into in just a moment. Returning from SA1 are character upgrades. Returning upgrades include the Lightspeed Dash and the Lightspeed Attack, and there are a lot of new upgrades as well. The same button syndrome problem lies more so with Sonic as opposed to Shadow, because Shadow does not get all the same upgrades that Sonic gets. A fully upgraded Sonic can be a problem at times, in a good and in a bad way. One of the new upgrades for Sonic is the Bounce Bracelet, which allows Sonic to bounce repeatedly as a means of attack, as well as getting to higher places. This can cause many problems, as in the later levels, like Crazy Gadget, there will be times where you need to lightspeed dash over a bottomless pit, and the controls can sometimes be unresponsive and plummet you to your death. They could have mapped this to the X or Y buttons on the Dreamcast controller, but they decided to map everything to the B button. As for the lightspeed dash on its own, it's massively improved. In SA1, whenever you wanted to use the lightspeed dash, you would have to stop and charge it up for about 4 seconds. If you had the crystal ring, that time would decrease to about 2 seconds. But regardless, it could still end up being a massive pace breaker. In SA2, no charge up is needed. When you meet a trail of rings, you can let it fly. As stated earlier, it can be unresponsive at times, however, I mostly find that issue to be in midair, and it never really results in death, I find, unless you have the Bounce Bracelet. Just like SA1, there are 10 speed stages: City Escape, Metal Harbor, Green Forest, Pyramid Cave, Crazy Gadget, Final Rush, Radical Highway, White Jungle, Sky Rail, and Final Chase. The stages themselves have a different focus than SA1. In SA1, the levels were a lot slower and more sandbox-like. In SA2, stages are much faster and linear, but with plenty of alternate paths, sort of like the level design of Sonic Unleashed. People often complain about Sonic games being automated and requiring little to no skill to be good at, but this game is an exception. Sonic Adventure 2 requires immense skill in order to get the highest scores. You need to hit all the trick ramps while collecting as many rings as possible, destroying as many enemies as possible, all while being as fast as possible. The levels have insane replay value. If you take a different path, maybe you'll find something new, like Shadow's Flame Ring or either character's Ancient Light ability. Which, by the way, the ability in itself is totally useless, even more so than in SA1. Even levels like City Escape, which might be the most linear level in any Sonic game, have insane replay value because of things like the trick ramps and the set pieces. Speaking of which, all the levels really have awesome set pieces, like in Radical Highway as you grind down the Golden Gate Bridge, or grab onto a launching missile in Metal Harbor, or grinding down the rails of Sky Rail, Final Rush, or Final Chase. Oh, and speaking of rail grinding, it's the newest mechanic added to the core gameplay. This mechanic has been a mainstay of the series for over 20 years at this point, and this game did it the best by far. Rail grinding requires actual skill, as if you crouch and keep your balance, you can gain insane amounts of speed. Switching rails isn't great, as it just launches you to the left or right, and is supposed to put you on the next grind rail. However, at high speeds, it can get you killed. But it's not bad enough to the point where I say it significantly detracts from the experience. Now, let's talk about Shadow for a moment. As I said before, Shadow is my favorite character, and part of that is the character design. Shadow contrasts with Sonic very well, and that shows with the character design. One of the keys of designing a character is to make them stand out from the crowd, which is one of the reasons why Alex Kidd failed Sega and Sonic succeeded for them. Silhouettes are big indicators of good or bad character design. If your character's silhouette is easily identifiable, then that's a key for great character design. Shadow was made to be the Dark Sonic for this game, and the concept art for this takes it way too literally. Some of the concept art also looks way too villainy, which doesn't really make much sense because at the end of the story, Shadow is not the character that you originally thought he might be. One of the pieces of concept art looked so similar to Sonic that Sega actually ended up using that same pose as Sonic's stock artwork later down the road. What they ended up going for in the final product was absolutely perfect, as they got something that looked similar enough to Sonic, but at the same time easily identifiable. Now, with all that out of the way, how does the Dark story begin?
Intruder alert! Intruder alert! Security breach at Gate 3. Intruder has been located in the north quadrant and is moving in the direction of the underground base. All units prepare to engage. Emergency battle formations. Standard battle procedures initiated. Locate and stop the intruder from entering the security area. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill.
That was all too easy. Let's take a look at what my grandfather was working on. A top-secret military weapon. The military shut down the research because they feared it.
The Dark story, much like the Hero story, makes a great first impression as you're thrown right into the action with Dr. Eggman blowing through everything in his path as he infiltrates the military base. To get here, he stumbled upon his grandfather, Gerald Robotnik's diary, and found out about one of his research projects that was shut down by the government, Project Shadow, who was sealed away for the past 50 years. A similar robot to the one Sonic fought after his first stage comes to confront Shadow and Eggman, but Shadow disposes of it with ease. Shadow then tells Eggman to meet him aboard the Space Colony Ark, an abandoned space station created by Professor Gerald Robotnik many years prior for his research, with some Chaos Emeralds. Before going back to the Ark, Shadow steals a Chaos Emerald for himself, then encounters Sonic. Let's talk about the backstory of Shadow in the Ark for a moment. Shadow was created by Professor Gerald Robotnik over 50 years prior to the currently transpiring events, engineered to become the ultimate life form. However, the military feared Shadow, so they shut down the project and raided the Ark, and that resulted in everyone aboard the Ark being killed. One of the victims was Gerald's granddaughter Maria, who was Shadow's closest friend. All of this reveals that Shadow is not just evil for the sake of being evil. He wants to avenge his late best friend Maria, who was killed for no good reason. In one of the flashbacks, you can see the look on his face. He can't believe what's happening. And when he's awoken by Eggman, all the hate has built up inside of him and he just wants revenge for Maria. He's a super loyal guy who cares about those close to him. Following the Sonic and Shadow encounter, the player will probably notice that the way the game is structured is entirely different. In Sonic Adventure, you were thrown into one of 3 hub worlds between stages, whereas in SA2, the stage-to-stage transition from the classic games makes a return. Hub worlds in SA1 allowed for the player to relax, mess around, and find character upgrades. As for upgrades, they're found in stages, some being in your path because they're required to advance, and some rewarding you for exploration. I'll get more into the upgrades when I talk about the specific characters. The hub worlds would be pretty out of place in SA2 because the story isn't set in a few of the same locations like how SA1 was. As in SA2, you're in the city, the desert, Prison Island, space, and a few other locations as well. So the hub worlds wouldn't really make sense for that. The story that SA2 tells has a lot more urgency than in SA1, where outside of the last story, the stakes peaked during Tales of Speed Highway, and outside of that, the stakes weren't really all that high in SA1. When it comes to replaying stages, SA1's hub worlds allowed you to revisit locations you had been to already, and replay the levels from there. But in SA2, you have a big world map that showcases the levels. It's really well put together. It really shows how the world comes together as well, despite the fact that, obviously, no real locations would resemble this. They didn't just throw levels in random places either. Everything is well thought out, like as Sonic and Shadow move towards one another in City Escape and Radical Highway. As for my preference between the two methods, I don't really have one. I think hub worlds can be done well when executed correctly, but I can also dig a level select map if it's done well enough. Hub worlds I do think have a pretty high chance of failing the player, as we can see there is a high chance that they just aren't really designed that well. But when they are designed well in a game like Sonic Adventure or Sonic Unleashed, they can be pretty fun. Sonic Adventure's hub worlds were big enough, but also not too big to the point where they were just a pain to navigate. The hub worlds were also distinct enough, as in Station Square there was the train station, there was the casino, there was the resort area, there was that back area of the city. The Mystic Ruins had Tails' workshop, there was the Angel Island area of the Mystic Ruins, it was the jungle area. They were all super distinct and easier to navigate. Whereas in a game like Sonic 06, everything just kind of blended together, and the hub worlds, particularly the new city and the forest town, were so big, and the characters were so slow to the point where they were just a pain to navigate. A game like Sonic Unleashed, those hub worlds were fine, nothing great. They don't compare to Sonic Adventure. They don't really provide for the same exploration, but then again, those were really just made to build a world, as you can't even really use most of your moveset in those hub worlds. So, just to reiterate, I do not have a preference between a hub world and a world map. So before all that, I had just connected the events of the Hero Side and Dark Side story up until Sonic and Shadow's first encounter. But before that, Knuckles and Rouge are shown fighting over the Master Emerald, and Dr. Eggman tries to steal it. Knuckles shatters it to avoid it being stolen, thus allowing him to eventually restore it just like he did in SA1, setting up the treasure hunting. Although, side note, this encounter by Knuckles and Rouge are shown at different points in the Hero and Dark Side story, which really doesn't make any sense, so I just thought I'd point that out. In terms of the core gameplay, the only real change is how you can drill downwards in the air, whereas in SA1 you just had to land normally. This is a change that I probably wouldn't have cared about or moaned about had it not really happened, but it's so useful in levels like Pumpkin Hill, Meteor Herd, or even Mad Space. Speaking of which, these two hunt across 9 stages: Wild Canyon, Pumpkin Hill, Aquatic Mine, Death Chamber, Meteor Herd, Dry Lagoon, Egg Quarters, Security Hall, and Mad Space. The level design in these stages is pretty hit or miss. You can have absolutely amazing levels like Pumpkin Hill that are expansive and make use of all the characters' abilities, or have levels like Death Chamber and Mad Space which are an absolute chore to complete. One level I think gets way too much flack is Security Hall due to how the vaults work. I feel like the level is small enough to the point where this is never really an issue. As for the rest of the levels, I think they're fine. If the treasure hunting levels were redesigned like Pumpkin Hill here and Red Mountain from SA1, I feel like it would be absolutely stellar. One complaint is how the radar will only track one emerald at a time, as opposed to in Sonic Adventure 1, where all emeralds could be tracked at the same time if you were close enough. But although I don't think this is a major problem due to how they're placed, I do definitely think that the SA1 radar is certainly better. The hint system is certainly better in these treasure hunting stages though, as in SA1, the hints were pretty brain dead as the caller just told you, hey, go this way and the emerald will be there, whereas in SA2, you use the monitors and they will describe a certain place in the level where the emerald is. You can argue that this isn't better because of how difficult it would be for first-time players. However, I definitely like it a lot more because it requires a considerable amount more effort from the player as opposed to those in SA1 where it just told you, go in this direction. We also have levels that are entirely designed for exploration, so please, stop complaining about the speed stages being as linear as they are. I think this more than makes up for it. So, I believe that the treasure hunting stages in this game are better than those in SA1, mostly because of the hint system, which requires more effort from the player, and the fact that the level design makes these stages not so piss easy like those in SA1. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's talk about the other new character in the Dark story, Rouge the Bat. The duality theme that this game shows is put on further display here. Knuckles now has his own rival. I spoke earlier about how Shadow and Sonic make a great rivalry. I also think that Rouge and Knuckles is an awesome rivalry, but for many different reasons than the Sonic and Shadow rivalry. Rouge is pretty much the exact opposite of Knuckles. Knuckles, as is demonstrated in earlier games, has been shown to be more of a throw punches first, ask questions later kind of guy, whereas Rouge uses her smarts more, like how the entire time she's tricking Eggman into giving her the Emerald Radar. I talked earlier about how a great job was done at making Shadow distinct from Sonic in terms of his character design. I have to say that the same does hold true to Rouge as well. While I said that Shadow's concept art looked too similar to Sonic's, I have to say that the same also holds true to Rouge. Her concept art doesn't look too similar to Knuckles though, it looks too similar to Amy Rose. And as Rouge is just the second major female character in the game cast, they had to do an even better job at making her distinct from the crowd. I think with this hair coming out of the front of her head, she looks a bit too much like Amy Rose, and I actually think that what they went for in the final product was pretty awesome. I think that the final product screams ego, and that is displayed well, as she does think that all the world's gems do belong to her. She displays this trait even further with other quotes in the game.
How is that? Perfect? Like me? This can be true. I never lose.
Rouge is also a lot more expressive than Knuckles. Knuckles is a laid-back and calm character, although this concept did get lost after this game. Rouge is also in it for her own selfish gain. She's in it because she wants jewels, and that's very clear even from the first cutscene that we're introduced to her in. Whereas Knuckles, the reason that he's doing what he's doing is because he has to. He's the guardian of the Master Emerald. This is the job that he has always had. Rouge, along with the other dark side characters, appear to be pretty egotistical at times compared to the heroes, as shown by these recaps you get after resuming stories. These story recaps give so much character and are much better written than the ones in SA1. These characters feel like they're giving their actual thoughts on what's happening right now during the story. Granted, these recaps do also have the benefit of having voice acting, whereas the ones in Sonic Adventure 1 did not. On top of the really good writing with these, the voice actors actually did a pretty good job adding emotion to these. One detail I love about these story recaps is how the heroes just introduce themselves by name.
I'm Sonic! Sonic the Hedgehog!
My name is Miles Prower, but everyone calls me Tails.
I'm Knuckles the Echidna, but you can call me Knuckles.
And how the villains introduce themselves in a pretty egotistical way.
I'm Shadow the Hedgehog, the one and only ultimate life form.
I'm Dr. Eggman, the greatest scientific genius of the world.
My name is Rouge the Bat, better known as the Treasure Hunter Rouge.
The personalities of these characters are just on display in so many ways, which brings me to the soundtrack. This game's soundtrack is absolutely phenomenal. I would even go as far as to say that this OST does not have a single skip in its entirety. I would also go as far as to say that this is the best OST that the series has to offer. The level themes in previous games were more about replicating the environments that the characters ran through. In SA2, that element is still there, but they added character to the songs, with Sonic's themes featuring a lot of fast-paced guitar getting you ready for action. Tails' music featuring still upbeat but less action-y music. Knuckles going back to the rap style he had in his SA1 theme, and making a new track for each of his stages.
This is Knuckles, and I'm back. I've been away for a while, but I'm back to kick some butt and wild candy.
Eggman featuring similar tracks to Tails, but not quite as upbeat, as the bass makes his appearance much more felt here. And Rouge coming in with these jazz tracks that I originally never thought I'd be super into, but after listening to them for this review, they're actually my second favorite set of tracks behind Sonic's. You'll probably notice I didn't mention Shadow, and that's because his music isn't consistent from stage to stage. Some of his tracks are much more techno with distorted lyrics. And some of his tracks are less upbeat versions of Sonic's. Returning from Sonic Adventure are vocal themes. In SA1, each playable character had their own theme, with Gamma's being the only one not to boast vocals. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles get their themes from SA1, It Doesn't Matter, Believe in Myself, and Unknown from ME, all remixed to match the style of their stage music.
It doesn't matter now what happens. I will never give up the fight. I wanna fly high, so I can reach the highest of all the heavens.
dark side got all new vocal themes for themselves. Shadow's theme being Throw It All Away, rocking that techno with distorted lyrics. Eggman's EGGMAN, going with music that opposes Tails. And Rouge's Fly in the Freedom, sticking with her jazzy style. Amy's theme, My Sweet Passion, also makes a return in some cutscenes. Overall, I'd say that my preference goes to the hero side, with a ranking of mine going something like It Doesn't Matter, Believe in Myself, EGGMAN, Throw It All Away, Unknown from ME, and Fly in the Freedom. So far, we have talked about 2 of the 3 gameplay styles that this game has to offer, the speed gameplay and the treasure hunting gameplay. Now, it's time to talk about the mech gameplay in which you control Tails and Dr. Eggman. They followed the same gameplay formula of E102 Gamma from Sonic Adventure. A lot of people don't like how Tails was forced into a mech and wanted his SA1 gameplay style to return, but I don't really see a problem with this. I think it fits Tails perfectly that he would engineer his plane to be able to transform into a mech, use it to blow everything in his sight in Prison Island to free Sonic, and then also use it to go head to head with Eggman. One of the big problems with SA1 was that different characters were just thrown into Sonic stages, and at times it showed. Funny enough, Tails, more than any other character, had this problem, as Tails could quite literally break levels in 2, for example, Windy Valley. As for the mechs themselves, the big complaint I have is that the controls can be pretty clunky, although once you get the hover upgrade, it's really no big deal at all, and turning and platforming becomes pretty easy. They do have trouble running uphill, but there's really only one section out of all 10 levels that they go across that I can really think of. On top of that, the levels of Tails and Eggman here, Prison Lane, Mission Street, Hidden Base, Eternal Engine, Iron Gate, Sand Ocean, Lost Colony, Weapons Bed, and Cosmic Wall, absolutely blow that of Gamma's out of the water here. As for the level design, it's pretty good, and it works very well for the gameplay style. The only big complaint I have about these stages is that it feels like in Tails' levels, quite a few instances of cheap enemy placement tend to happen. This was likely due to him being included last minute, but it's not so bad to the point where it detracts from the fun that much. It's more so if you're trying to perfect your runs, more so than if you're just casually playing the game. Previous games would have the player die when they get hit without any rings, and if they had any rings, they would lose them all upon getting hit. Here, the player will still lose their rings upon getting hit, but there is now a health bar. Getting hit will drain the health bar, and getting rings will refill it. With Dr. Eggman getting an upgrade to his health bar, I think that a health bar works way better than a typical ring system in this scenario with the mech characters. Gamma stages also incentivized, major air quotes there, combat by having a time limit that would result in fail should it run out, destroying enemies resulting in time being added, and even more time being added should you destroy more in one shot. Tails and Eggman stages remove the time limit as it now functions like the speed or treasure hunting stages, which would probably make you think that the combat is now a non-factor and that you can just walk by everything. However, that's not the case. If anything, combat is more incentivized in these stages. Gamma stages were so short and easy to the point where out of his 5 stages, Hot Shelter, his final stage, is the only one where you really need to destroy any enemies at all. Tails and Eggman's combat is encouraged by points being added to your score for each enemy you kill, with that number being increased should you reach a higher combo, rewarding you with a higher rank. Which brings me to the ranking system.
I did it, Sonic!
At the end of each stage, you are ranked based on your performance on a scale from A to E, A being the best and E being the worst. Sonic Adventure 2 introduces this concept, and I think it's a top 2 ranking system in the series at the bare minimum, along with Sonic Unleashed. You earned score in previous games, but were never rewarded based on your score. It was just a flashy number to see how well you did. Sonic Adventure 2 grades you on your score at the end of each stage, with a bonus being added depending on how fast you completed the stage. You increase your score by defeating enemies, collecting rings, hitting trick ramps, and rails in the case of Sonic and Shadow, and in the case of Knuckles and Rouge, finding the pieces of the Master Emerald faster without using as many hints, and in the case of Tails and Eggman, getting the highest possible combos. Getting an A rank in these stages actually requires the player to actually be zoned in and have a very good performance, unlike the pure garbage that is the Sonic Generations ranking system, which basically hands out S ranks like it's nothing. So far we've talked about all 3 gameplay styles and their levels, the 2 new characters in depth, the ranking system, the soundtrack, but we kinda left the story hanging, so let's return to that topic from where we left off. After Dr. Eggman makes his way to the Ark, Rouge infiltrates his base and follows his lead. Eggman meets Shadow aboard the Ark, where Shadow gives a briefing on one of Professor Gerald's old research projects, the Eclipse Cannon, a weapon capable of destroying an entire planet, as described by Shadow. However, in order for it to be fully powered, it requires the power of all 7 Chaos Emeralds. Turns out that the entire time, Rouge was listening and drops in to make a deal with Eggman. This deal being that she would help them find Chaos Emeralds in exchange for the Emerald Radar that Dr. Eggman possesses. This brings us back to Prison Island, where Sonic is currently being held captive. Eggman returns with a plan to wreak havoc and cause a distraction, Rouge to sneak in and steal the Chaos Emerald from the vault, and Shadow to place the explosive dynamite so they can blow up the island and escape undetected. Partway through...
Oh, Sonic! I thought I'd never see you again! I'm so glad you made it! You're not Sonic! Who are you?
I'm the one who should be asking that.
Dr. Eggman!
Rouge and Shadow leave to complete their tasks as Eggman is left to deal with Amy. Meanwhile, Tails is on his way to Prison Island to free Sonic himself, but sees Amy in danger and steps in. Their battle ends in a draw with Eggman leaving and Tails and Amy going to free Sonic. One question that absolutely must be asked here is how in God's name did Amy Rose make her way to Prison Island? Amy is just kinda here for no reason at all. It really makes no sense how she got here. This is something that the Sonic X anime actually does right, as it shows Amy and Tails arriving on Prison Island together, then Amy mistakes Shadow for Sonic when she leaves the plane, then Tails and Eggman battle. Amy later tells Sonic that she got here via plane ride with Tails, but this doesn't make any sense because she quite literally did not. As Amy is freeing Sonic, she tells him that Shadow was on the island with Dr. Eggman. Meanwhile, Rouge is searching through the vault for the Chaos Emeralds, finds them all, gets a guard robot sent after her but ultimately defeats it, but is trapped inside the vault with the Chaos Emeralds. She calls Shadow to tell him that she's trapped, and Shadow starts having flashbacks of Maria. Shadow's character is severely misunderstood, and it is scenes like this that are often disregarded despite showing how his character truly is. He's made out to be this edgelord and selfish prick, but it's really all just an act. Shadow is a soft character with a tough guy persona. He remembers what happened to Maria, and he doesn't want to let that happen to Rouge. So, he rushes and makes sure that this time he will be successful in saving her. He says to himself, and to Rouge, that it was just really to get the Chaos Emeralds back, but the flashbacks tell us the real reason and actually unveils quite a bit of Shadow's character. Anyways, back to the events. As Sonic escapes the prison area and Shadow speeds through the jungle, the two intersect and engage in battle, resulting in one of my favorite encounters in the entire series.
Phew. So far, so good. Hey, that's...
That blue hedgehog again, of all places.
I found you, Faker.
Faker? I think you're the fake hedgehog around here. You're comparing yourself to me? Huh. You're not even good enough to be
I'll
my
make you eat those words.
Their battle results in a draw, where shortly after, Eggman notifies Shadow that the island is set to blow up, shocking Sonic as he rushes to save Tails and Amy. Meanwhile, Shadow reaches Rouge and all parties successfully escape. Shadow and Rouge return to the Ark with the Chaos Emeralds, meaning that they now have 6 of the 7 Chaos Emeralds. Eggman broadcasts his plan to the world with the threat that if they don't surrender within 24 hours, he'd fire the Eclipse Cannon right at the Earth, and fires at the moon, destroying half of it in the process to show that he really means business. Sonic, Tails, and Amy all watch this happen. They conclude that Eggman must have the Chaos Emeralds, and that's how he harnessed all that energy. Luckily, Tails has the last Chaos Emerald and explains that the emeralds can attract each other, meaning that they just might be able to find where Dr. Eggman is. First though, they're confronted by a bunch of police, so they have to deal with that first. While we're here, I want to recap about why the police are actually after Sonic in the first place, and talk about some issues that the plot as a whole faces. It's earlier established that Sonic is one of her crimes that Shadow committed, but how exactly does this happen? The point of Shadow being mistaken for Sonic gets met with a lot of criticism, but when all context is provided, I actually think that it makes perfect sense. Firstly, let's go back to the finale of Sonic Adventure. Sonic uses the positive energy of the Chaos Emeralds to transform into Super Sonic, with inhabitants of Station Square cheering him on in the process. These people know that Sonic's appearance changes when he transforms. His spines change as well as his color. Looking at Supersonic's spines, you can see that they're positioned exactly like Shadow's. It also doesn't help that Supersonic has the same colored eyes as Shadow. The concept of confusing the two itself was probably just never changed and thought of when Shadow was still in his concept art stage, when he looked pretty much just as a darker Sonic. But even with Shadow's final design, it still makes sense. There are also other plot holes that lead questions. For example, why does the President allow Rouge to help Shadow and Eggman blow up Prison Island, and why do they send a gun robot after her? Did she just not tell them about this part, or what? Her motives also changed during the story. After Headquarters, it's made clear that Rouge has been sent on a mission to find out what Eggman's up to.
This is Rouge. I've located Eggman's base and will proceed to enter it now. What's he doing up there anyway? Doesn't matter. It's my mission to find out what he's up to.
But later in the story, she talks about how she's researching whether or not Shadow the Hedgehog is actually the ultimate life form or not.
This is Rouge reporting. Currently, I have not been able to confirm if Shadow is the ultimate life form or not. I will continue my research on Project Shadow and have a follow-up report very shortly. Just a reminder, don't forget about my jewels.
Anyways, back to the story. Tails comes up with a plan to use the Chaos Emerald to track down Dr. Eggman, as the heroes earlier concluded that he, at the very minimum, has one in his possession. Unfortunately though, the plan doesn't quite work as he's in outer space. If you've noticed, there has been one character that has been basically absent from the story, aside from one scene so far. That being Knuckles. He's been tracking down pieces of the Master Emerald, and to this point, he has collected 9. He last searched down in the mines, which leads us to now. He emerges from the sewers and meets up with Tails and Amy. All the while, Tails has been trying to track down the President, and it's at this point that he successfully manages to track his signal. To track down the President, you play this kart racing stage, which you play one in the Dark Story as Rouge as well. I don't really have much to say about these stages. The karts control fine, I guess. I have nothing to say about these stages. Anyways, Tails and Sonic track him down and are able to determine that Eggman is transmitting from the Ark, thus setting up their journey. Meanwhile, Eggman is very upset with Rouge because she hasn't been able to get him the final Chaos Emerald. Rouge shows Eggman the newspaper where Tails was awarded the Emerald after saving Station Square from the missile attack in SA-1 at the end of Tails' campaign, and now the villains are trying to track him down. Rouge and Shadow are unable to catch him, but tell Eggman that he's headed right for the Pyramid base. The heroes find the base thanks to Knuckles, who saw Eggman and Rouge enter the base before. The heroes bust in as Tails finds the entrance, Sonic blasts through the base, and Knuckles finds the keys to reach the center of the base. Little do they know, Eggman was completely ready for them and unleashes a golem that was so absolutely massive that Sonic can only be shocked. Sonic destroys the restraining mechanism on the robot and it turns on Eggman. The heroes board the space shuttle that Eggman had to make their way to the Ark. Along the way, they crash, opening the hatch door, as 2/3 of the Master Emerald pieces get lost into space, and Knuckles jumps ship to go and retrieve them. The heroes still make it aboard the Ark, however they're detected by Rouge, who was given the password to the colony's control system by Dr. Eggman. She uses this to access the database and do more research on Project Shadow, and she sees a mutant lizard type of creature that leaves her in just plain shock. Though she's interrupted by an energy reading from the Master Emerald, as that comes up on her screen, and Rouge wastes no time and makes her way there. Meanwhile, the heroes are devising a plan to stop Dr. Eggman. Tails has created a fake Chaos Emerald that has the same wavelength and properties as a real Chaos Emerald. It looks so real that he says not even a machine can tell the difference. The only difference between it and a real Chaos Emerald is that it is designed to blow up when it's around the other 6. The plan here is to have Sonic go to the Eclipse Cannon, place the fake emerald along with the others, and have it destroyed from the inside. It's at this scene where I feel like the voice actor for Tails just simply is not good. Most of his lines sounds like he's reading off of a sheet of paper. Most of his lines sound like he's reading off a sheet of paper. And on that note, let's talk about the rest of the voice actors. I'm not going to go too in-depth about the rest of the characters, but I'll give my brief thoughts. Ryan Drummond as the Sonic, Scott Dreer as Knuckles, David Humphrey as Shadow, and Dean Bristow as Dr. Eggman all kick ass with their respective characters. Ryan Drummond does a tremendous job at capturing Sonic's radical attitude.
Talk about low-budget flights, no food or movies. I'm out of here. I like running better.
Scott Dreyer does a perfect job of capturing Knuckles' calm, yet aggressive nature.
What are you talking about? That emerald's mine. You got that? The Master Emerald contains special powers that neutralize the energy of the Chaos Emeralds. That makes it very powerful.
What the?
David Humphrey's softer voice does a great job of showing how Shadow's really a big softie while also sounding like a total badass.
That's more than enough for the demonstration. So let's get the show on the road.
And Eggman is just phenomenal all around.
Citizens of Earth, lend me your ears and listen to me very carefully. My name is Dr. Eggman, the world's greatest scientist, and soon to be the world's greatest ruler.
For Rouge, I feel like she's good, but also not as good as the four I just mentioned. Lonnie Manila's voice on its own is by far the best fit for Rouge the character has seen in the entire series, but her acting has some of the same issues as Tails, however, it is not nearly as frequent, and in fact, I can only really think of a set few examples. With Tails, however, I can think of numerous examples where it just sounds like he is reading off of his paper. Where it sounds like he's reading off of his paper. The cutscenes as a whole, they're pretty good, and much improved from SA1. The animation quality has gone way up, as instead of cycling through the same animations over and over, they're now using motion capture, which, granted, it can get pretty awkward at times, but it's still pretty good. The lip syncing also isn't really that great, as the lip syncing was tied to the Japanese dub, so the English dub doesn't quite fit. However, it's a lot better than some games in the series. The sound mixing can also get pretty bad, as there are a few times where the music will drown out the characters' voices, causing you to barely hear Tails' character. Anyways, while Sonic and Tails are making their way to the control room so that they can destroy the Eclipse Cannon, Knuckles and Rouge are in outer space looking for the pieces of the Master Emerald that had fallen out of the space shuttle that Sonic and Go had boarded back in Eggman's Pyramid Base. They find them and have one final face-off.
Long time no see, treasure hunter. Did you find my emerald?
That's a good one. Your emerald. Talking to you is a waste of time.
Resulting in a draw, which is a pretty good character battle, but really that goes for all the bosses in this game except for the Prison Island ones. But anyways, Knuckles and Rouge's battle results in a draw, although Rouge falls off the very narrow platform that they were on, but instead of letting her fall into the lava below, Knuckles quickly grabs her hand and saves her. Pretty good character moment for Knuckles, I would say. It shows that, much like the other heroes, he's a kind-hearted character. I don't know if this is supposed to be something he just picked up from hanging around Sonic, as this is absolutely something he would do, or if this is just to save the pieces of the Master Emerald, as Knuckles says. This seems a lot more believable than Shadow's rationalization earlier in the story, as restoring the Master Emerald is literally Knuckles' sole mission. But alas, Knuckles and Rouge have another mini conflict, as Rouge takes exception and calls Knuckles a creep because he just wanted to hold her hand, and Knuckles says he was just trying to save the pieces of the Master Emerald, resulting in Rouge finally giving in and giving up those Emerald Shards. The two go their separate ways as Knuckles restores the Master Emerald. Meanwhile, with the heroes, Sonic has reached the Ark's central control room. Tails, over the speaker, gives Sonic instructions, but not before Dr. Eggman interrupts him, as he's now holding Amy Rose as a hostage, and Sonic has to make a mad dash to the research facility to save her. Sonic makes his way to the research facility, and as the door opens, he looks pissed. Eggman proposes that he'll let Amy go if Sonic gives him the Chaos Emerald. This is the perfect opportunity. Sonic says to himself that if he does this, he can not only save Amy, but he can also get Eggman to ruin his own plan. He makes direct eye contact with Tails and gets the nod of approval as well. He throws on his cocky grin and delivers this line.
You've turned into a big-time villain, Doctor.
Now, what could possibly go wrong?
Whoa! You thought you could trick me with that fake emerald, didn't you?
So, how did you know it wasn't the real one?
Tails!
Because you just told me, Fox Boy.
It was a ploy all along. While Sonic, Tails, and Amy were planning aboard the Ark, Eggman and Shadow were in the Pyramid Base, where they got readings of 2 different Chaos Emeralds coming from Sonic and Tails. Obviously, since they had 6, that meant that there was 1 remaining, which means one of these had to have been fake. Eggman also heard Tails earlier tell Sonic to do something with the Emerald, and with there not being many places to put a Chaos Emerald aboard the Ark, he knew that they were trying to sabotage him. On top of all this, he makes sure that it's the fake Emerald by getting Tails to admit it. Tails is devastated, as shown by the look on his face here, and Amy literally starts crying. If you're playing this via the Dark Story, Eggman will hang his head and say,
"Farewell, my admirable adversary,"
out of respect for Sonic. Although, the character recaps show that Eggman is absolutely ecstatic about finally defeating him.
I finally did it! I've defeated Sonic! That annoying hedgehog is now gone forever! Nothing but floating chunks in space now.
This is Dr. Eggman at his best. He was in control of the situation the entire time, and was able to give the heroes a false sense of hope before disposing of his enemy, Sonic. Eggman then tries to manipulate the devastated Tails into giving him the Chaos Emerald in exchange for his and Amy's release. I just said that this game was peak Eggman, but it was also peak Tails. In addition to all of Tails' other great moments in this game, like blowing through everything in his path on Prison Island, tracking down a president, leading the charge into Eggman's Pyramid Base, Tails is now determined to do what Sonic had asked of him. Tails in SA1 said how he always depended on Sonic, but now, with no Sonic to lead, Tails takes it upon himself to defeat Dr. Eggman to prevent him from accomplishing his goal. While this is taking place, Rouge, who, as we know, has been a government spy this whole time, and has completed her research of Project Shadow. She's in the central control room of the Ark with the Chaos Emeralds, and as she gets ready to take the Chaos Emeralds with her and leave,
I don't think so.
Shadow busts in with what is absolutely one of the best cutscenes in the entire game, more so thanks to port enhancements.
Now I know who you are. You're that government spy, Rouge the Bat, aren't you?
So you did your homework, is that it? I would say that's an invasion of privacy.
I can say the same thing about you.
It looks like things aren't quite going your way, but since my job was done, I thought it was time to take what's mine and get out of this place.
You are one pathetic creature.
Look who's talking. What about you? Here are the results of the research project called the Ultimate Life Form. But if this picture is of the real Ultimate Life Form named Shadow, then exactly who or what is standing in front of me?
The two come to a standoff, and Eggman alerts Shadow that he has possession of the final Chaos Emerald. On the other hand, someone is trying to get to the Eclipse Cannon and foil Eggman's plan. The big question is, who could that be? Well, it can't be Tails or Amy since they're in the research facility with Eggman. Can't be Knuckles since he's out at space and he doesn't even really know what's going on with the Eclipse Cannon since he never got an explanation. Can't be Shadow or Rouge since they're in the central control room, which leaves us with one character, Sonic the Hedgehog. Well, how does this work? Well, when Sonic was launched into the capsule, he remembered that Tails said that the fake emerald has the same wavelength and properties as a real Chaos Emerald. This, along with seeing Shadow use Chaos Control before, leads Sonic to make a last-ditch effort to escape the capsule. And, to his avail, it was a success. Sonic managed to successfully use Chaos Control to escape the capsule is usually met with a lot of criticism. However, this stems from a lack of understanding on how the Chaos Emeralds actually function. I think that it works just fine. Sonic did not simply escape the capsule due to luck. The Chaos Emeralds can transform thoughts into power, thus meaning that it was his will to never give up that allowed him to escape the capsule. I truly think that this is great stuff. Yes, I do. If you don't buy that, then how about Sonic having experience using higher amounts of Chaos Energy in Sonic 2, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and Sonic Adventure? Anyways, after Sonic escapes the capsule, he has a really good character moment with Knuckles that feels like they've come a long way since Sonic 3 and K. This is also a scene that really gets you pumped up going into the final stage.
Hey, Sonic! Whoa, I wasn't sure if I could pull that one off. Somehow I managed to use the Chaos Control.
Chaos Control? Are you okay?
I'm worried about Tails and Amy. I hate to ask, but could you help them? This is our last chance. I got it. Before the cannon fires, I'll slam dunk it in there.
Which brings us to the final stage for each campaign, Final Rush with Sonic, and Final Chase with Shadow. After completing each of these stages, it brings us to the final boss, which, preceding that, you see a cutscene that is my favorite cutscene in the entirety of the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise.
You never cease to surprise me, Blue Hedgehog. I thought that capsule you were in exploded in space.
You know, what can I say? I die hard. You actually saved me, you know.
It was a Chaos Emerald, wasn't it? But there's no way you could have activated the Chaos Control using an emerald that's fake. So, there's more to you than just looking like me. What are you, anyway?
What you see is what you get. Just a guy that loves adventure. I'm Sonic the Hedgehog!
I see. But you know, I can't let you live. Your adventuring days are coming to an end.
And so, just before their final showdown, the two hedgehogs share words in the final minutes before the cannon fires. Shadow was impressed that Sonic is still alive, as he watched the capsule explode and thought that Sonic was dead inside. Shadow shows how impressed he is that Sonic was able to pull off a Chaos Control, followed by Sonic giving a cocky eyebrow raise. It's little things like this that make the cutscenes in this game just so memorable, along with the stakes and how epic the adventure has been up to this point. Here, we have the hero and the villain with just minutes to spare before the cannon is set to fire at the Earth. This cutscene also is a great moment for both characters. I mentioned earlier how Shadow might be the most misunderstood character in the franchise and how he's mistaken for the edgelord that the 2010s made him out to be. In their first encounter, Shadow basically treated Sonic like he wasn't worth his time at all, as illustrated by,
I'm the world's ultimate life form. There's no time for games. Farewell!
And in their second encounter, Shadow still acts like Sonic isn't worth his time.
I think you're the fake hedgehog around here. You're comparing yourself to me? Ha! You're not even good enough to be
I'll
my
make you
fate.
eat those.
If you play the Dark Story,
No time to hang out with the likes of you.
Sonic has earned Shadow's respect, and this continues even later in the game, but I'll talk about that when we get there. And as for Sonic, the line,
What you see is what you get. Just a guy that loves adventure. I'm Sonic the Hedgehog!
just sums up his character perfectly, culminating in what I think is the best depiction of Sonic that the series has seen, up there with games like Sonic and the Black Knight. And so, bringing us to the final boss. The boss itself has the player running along a platform that is falling behind you as you battle the opposing hedgehog, which is pretty fitting considering the stakes that the story has given us to this point. The track For True Story playing in the background surely cements this as an epic final battle. In terms of who actually comes out of this battle as the victor, I've always liked to think that Sonic just says forget this and makes a mad dash for the Eclipse Cannon, as the actual result of this battle is pretty unclear. Tails tells Sonic that he won in a pretty depressed voice as he grieves for his late friend, as we see Amy doing the exact same thing. Eggman grabs the last Chaos Emerald, sneaks away, and inserts it into the Eclipse Cannon. To Tails' surprise though, Sonic responds as he jumps with joy and tells Tails and Amy to look outside. Roll credits. Thus ending the Hero and Dark campaigns of Sonic Adventure 2. However, once you complete both campaigns, there is still more content. The first of the post-game content that I'm going to talk about is the Chow Garden. I actually don't have all that much to say, as I'm not a huge Chow Garden player, but I'll try the best that I can. The Chow Garden is a mode that is returning from SA1 where you take the Chow creatures that Chaos was guarding and raise them as your own little virtual pets. You can feed them, upgrade them by giving them Chaos Drives and defeating the GUN robots, and also the animals that you get from the very few Eggman robots that you encounter throughout the stages. You can even put your Chow in little competitions such as racing or karate. The mode actually can be super in-depth to the point where there's an entire website dedicated to it. So if you want more information on that, I would check that out, as I don't really know all that much about the Chow Garden because I'm not a huge Chow Garden player. In addition to that, extra missions for each stage return from Sonic Adventure 1, however, they function differently. In SA2, each stage has 5 missions to complete. The first being to just simply complete the stage, which you complete by doing the story mode. The second being to get 100 rings, which can get difficult at times with Knuckles and Rouge. The third being to use the Mystic Melody upgrade that each character gets to find the Lost Chow. the fourth being to complete the stage within a certain time limit, and the fifth being to complete a harder version of the stage. Another thing returning from Sonic Adventure 1 are emblems. In SA1, there were 130 emblems, and collecting all of them got you a playable Metal Sonic, which was pretty much just a reskin of Sonic, but nonetheless, it was still pretty cool. In SA2, there are 180 emblems, and in order to get all of them, you need to A-rank every mission of every stage, get first place in every Chow race and Karate, first place in all the kart races, as well as beat the boss attack modes within the required time limits. You receive a very special reward for getting all 180 emblems, and that being Green Hill Zone before the Nostalgia Pandering. The level itself, I've actually never played it, I've actually never 100%ed this game, but according to many people, it's not really all that special in terms of how it's designed. But in my opinion, I think it's a pretty cool reward. Now that we've covered all the extra content, it's time to dive into the last story. Dr. Eggman was duped. The entire time, Professor Gerald and Shadow tricked Dr. Eggman to collect the Chaos Emeralds to set Gerald's true plan into motion. The Space Colony arc is now falling at an insanely high velocity, so high in fact that it would destroy the entire Earth upon impact. Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Rouge all go over Gerald's diary, revealing that he was still conducting research when GUN raided the arc. When Gerald found out that they'd killed Maria, he went insane and set out to seek revenge. He altered Shadow's memories to make him believe that Maria wanted him to avenge her, and advertised it in his diary as a means of destruction. However, this is not the destruction that Dr. Eggman is looking for, because if he destroys the Earth, there's nothing for him to conquer, which is his main goal. Gerald was executed after his plans were found out. Although the pieces were already set in place, they just needed someone to put the plan into motion, and that person in this case was Dr. Eggman. The heroes and Eggman have no choice but to work together to stop Gerald's plan from coming to fruition, setting up the final stage in the game, Cannon's Core, a stage where you play as Tails, Eggman, Rouge, Knuckles, and Sonic in that order one final time. This level shows off actually a lot of continuity from SA1, as in all the arc levels, one of the enemies is this artificial chaos, a recreation from the main villain of SA1, as well as how much Gerald was invested in the culture of the Echidna tribe from SA1. The waterfall in SA1's Lost World Temple is actually recreated here, as well as the Master Emerald Shrine itself. Amy Rose walks by the research facility as she sees Shadow embracing the end of the successful plan, or so he thinks. For most of the story, Amy was just kind of there, but this is where she has her wonderful moment. In SA1, when she was trapped with the bird in the jail cell and confronted by Gamma, she refused to hand over the bird and ended up getting to Gamma with her empathy and compassion, and her will to see the good in people. This carries over here, as she knows Shadow is not a heartless bastard and tries to convince him to help Sonic and company, eventually ending up triggering Shadow's true memory.
Shadow, I beg you, please do it for them. Give them a chance.
Shadow, I beg of you, please, do it for me. For
Maria!
a better future. For all people who live on that planet. Give them a chance to be happy. Let them live for their dreams. Shadow, I know you can do it.
Maria's real wish for Shadow was to help all those on Earth, as that was what he was created to do. It makes perfect sense story-wise, as the only reason Shadow was doing this in the first place is because he's dedicated to his mission, and his mission was actually caused by the altered memories. Shadow is someone who's extremely loyal and cares about his friends to an extreme extent. Shadow wastes no time as he rushes to help. Sonic and Knuckles reach the Cannon's Core, but the prototype of the ultimate life form, the one that Rouge saw in the Ark's database, suddenly appears to stop Sonic and Knuckles. But look no further as Shadow steps in to help Sonic and Knuckles, instructing them to get the Chaos Emeralds while he takes on the Bio Lizard. The fight itself is actually a very good one. The boss takes all the skills that you've learned while playing as Sonic and Shadow, homing attacking, rail grinding, somersaulting, all of that kinds of stuff, and puts them to the ultimate test, with the song Supporting Me playing in the background, which is pretty awesome and fits amazingly as it showcases the artificial nature of both Shadow and the Bio Lizard. Once the Bio Lizard is defeated, Knuckles recites the prayer that Tikal did in Sonic Adventure 1, stopping the power of the Chaos Emeralds. However, the Bio Lizard uses its own chaos control to warp outside the Ark and fuse them together, pulling it towards the Earth, leaving just one other option.
Sonic?
final boss, the Final Hazard. You start as Sonic with the goal to hit the pink swelling spot, and once you do so, you switch to Shadow with the same goal. It gets harder after each hit, with more red pellets being fired at you, as well as lasers being fired at you as well, both of which will push you back. You lose 1 ring per second, and you can switch between the 2 characters by passing the Bio Lizard. You also have just 5 minutes to defeat the Final Hazard, with the screen gradually getting more and more red, indicating the danger as you approach the 5-minute mark. Now let's get to what really makes this boss fight so special. This is an absolutely stellar moment to end the game on. The final bosses in this series have always had high stakes, with each one topping the last. Sonic 1 had the epic final showdown with Robotnik after their previous encounters. Sonic 2 had Sonic entering the Death Egg. Sonic 3 and Knuckles had Sonic desperately chasing the Death Egg, as well as the epic Doomsday Zone clash. Sonic Adventure had Perfect Chaos and the flooded destroyed Station Square. And Sonic Adventure 2 now has us trying to stop the Ark from crashing into and destroying the Earth. In addition to that, the dialogue going every which way in this fight is amazing. The characters who, throughout the entire game, have been going toe-to-toe against each other, now unite as they're rooting for Sonic and Shadow.
Sonic, Shadow, you two are the only ones who can stop him now.
Can you hear me? Sonic, Shadow, everyone here is rooting for you. Good luck, and give him trouble.
You can do it.
With other dialogue from them reinforcing the danger.
Can you both hear me? The Ark is close to the Earth. Please, hurry up.
Can both of you hear me? Atmosphere entry in about 4 minutes. Hurry.
And letting you know that you failed if you've taken too long.
There's no time left. Get out!
Sonic, watch out! The colony is entering the atmosphere! Get out of there!
Sonic and Shadow also have an amazing exchange here too, truly showing how Sonic has really gained Shadow's respect and then some.
Sonic, I think I've discovered what the ultimate life form is. It might be you.
Shadow, I understand. You're unstoppable. Let's destroy this creature now! Everyone is waiting for us back on Earth!
For me, this is what I believe to be the best depictions of each of these 2 characters that the series has ever seen. And of course, how can I not mention the main theme, Live and Learn by Crush 40, the best vocal track in all of Sonic, and in fact the best piece of music in all of Sonic. It's an absolutely amazing touch. The song itself is an absolute banger, but it also feels very empowering. Sonic Adventure started a trend of having the main theme or another vocal track played during the final boss. A lot of different games will have final boss music sound very eerie, but this song is just super empowering to the player, as are the final boss themes from Sonic Adventure and Sonic Heroes. There's a reason why it's one of the most iconic songs in the entire Sonic the Hedgehog series.
Did you really think you had a chance?
After defeating the Final Hazard, Sonic and Shadow team up one final time to use Chaos Control to warp the Ark back to its original position. However, despite successfully saving the world, there is some bad news. Shadow was unable to make it back to the Ark as he falls down to the Earth as he simply ran out of energy from the battle, ultimately sacrificing himself to the planet, fulfilling his promise that he made to Maria. Sonic returns to the Ark, and everyone gears up to celebrate the victory. However, he can only deliver the bad news that Shadow was unable to make it back. Rouge asks where Shadow is, and Sonic can only shake his head in sadness. Sonic is sad that Shadow was unable to see the result of his triumphant effort to battle the Bio Lizard. To the characters, all that's left of Shadow is one of his ring bracelets, which Sonic ends up giving to Rouge. This is a very touching moment. There's no cheesy one-liners to be told here, and no laugh tracks to be seen. The characters continue to reflect on what is by far the biggest journey yet, as we get some pretty great moments. Rouge, who despite coming into this whole situation because of selfishness, truly grew to care for Shadow and, much like Sonic, is sad that he was unable to make it back to the Ark. Eggman cannot believe that his grandfather planned on destroying the entire planet knowing that his grandson would be one of the victims. We even get Knuckles and Rouge bonding after they made amends earlier. Sonic mourns the death of Shadow further in what is another great moment. showing that Sonic is more than just the walking one-liner that the 2010s would have you believe. Amy asks what's wrong, and he brushes it off before heading back to the Earth, and one final time, Sonic bids,
Sayonara, Shadow the Hedgehog.
in the same way that Maria did in her final moments. And that, my friends, is Sonic Adventure 2, the game that I believe to be the most pivotal to the franchise even in 2021, as it was the first game to introduce non-Sega console owners to one of the biggest gaming icons of all time, as well as marking the end of Sega's journey on the console market. The game definitely has flaws. The camera isn't great, some of the treasure hunting levels could be better designed, the mechs can be clunky, there are some minor plot holes, the rail grinding could use some tweaking, but none of these flaws, to me, are significant enough to take away from the truly epic adventure that is Sonic Adventure 2. A game with multiple fun, refined, and improved gameplay styles, levels that have so much replay value, substance, and spectacle. A story with high stakes that get the player invested, and cutscenes that are amongst the most iconic in the series. I stopped caring about Sonic around the birth of Sonic Boom, and didn't really care about it until October of 2020. It was then that I saw this game called Sonic Forces and drew parallels to Sonic Generations, a game that I loved playing as a kid. I played Forces and concluded that the game was a pile of garbage, and thought to myself, what happened to the series that brought me so much joy as a kid? From there, I dusted off my old GameCube, and what I played on there were the Sonic Mega Collection and Sonic Adventure DX, which were absolutely amazing and reminded me of why I loved Sonic as a kid. But when I got to Sonic Adventure 2, everything clicked, as this is what Sonic is for me. Gameplay and stages that combine for endless replayability, an epic and well-written adventure with high stakes and characters that are actually engaging and have dimensions to them, an amazing soundtrack, cutscenes that I could quote until my last breath, an action-packed and passionate direction. The game had it all for me. This era of Sonic content showed me what Sonic was truly all about. I was introduced to the series when I was 5 years old in 2009 with the Wii version of Sonic Unleashed. Sonic Adventure 2 is just about everything I want from a Sonic game. It sucks that over the past 11 years, this ambition has been completely lost, and the devs run in fear of what they did around this time. I mean, there's a reason why there is such a high demand for Sonic Adventure remakes, ports, and even a Sonic Adventure 3. Anyways, I think I said enough. I believe I've gone into enough detail about why Sonic Adventure 2 is so special for me. It's a game that I used to love as a kid, and after 6 years, I've finally come back around to realize why Sonic Adventure 2 was and is so special to me. Sonic Adventure 2 is not just my favorite Sonic game, but my favorite video game of all time.